What's up, guys? It's Fight Companion. We are here on this beautiful day to discuss what was probably the pound-for-pound worst press conference from McGregor in history.
In our humble opinion. And I think it was the worst because we were so excited for some quick one-liners, some flashy swordsmanship with his tongue. And none of that was happening, unfortunately.
That was a very sus statement, but that's okay. But even if it was friendly, I was hoping there would be a little bit of barbs, a little bit of tension, a little bit of back and forth. And I think that people are coming out of this and they're like, oh wow, Conor's matured so much. Oh wow, all this. Oh wow, all that. I actually have a very different take from it.
Yeah, what's your take?
So, everyone, this is why Conor McGregor was nice to Cowboy Cerrone. He wasn't. He was not nice to Cowboy Cerrone. He was disrespectful to him consistently. He constantly was... Conor just didn't want to be the bad guy in this one. He kept jabbing at Cerrone to try to get him to respond. He disrespected his fighting technique. He basically alluded to Cerrone being much less successful and having much less money.
He did big brother him a lot.
A lot. The difference is, and this is standard Conor behavior, this is what he does in every press conference and every interactions with the fighters leading up to the press conferences in the past. The difference was those fighters would go, well, fuck you, Conor.
Yeah. Cowboy was not baited into any of that.
And but I also feel like it was a bad thing because he was very much accepting a supplicant or passive role where he's like, yep, Conor's the man. Yeah, look at this guy. Isn't he funny over here? He says he can read me like a book. Ha 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 ha. Like, yeah. And I just don't think that's a good look. And I think people can read into like the behavior around the press conferences and stuff a little bit too much sometimes.
Including us.
Including us, especially us. But in this specific instance, I really don't like this when the biggest worry throughout this whole camp and this whole buildup for this fight that I've had was that Cowboy wasn't, like, he's taking the fight, and I think he's won by getting the fight, and the press conference almost felt more like Mayweather-McGregor after they had the event, and they're like, we made a lot of money, baby. There was no animosity from Cowboy.
So, from your point, right, like, there was the fact that Cowboy just needs to show up and he's won. Yeah. There was an interview going, and I believe it showed on the Embedded today. He was saying that Cowboy was saying, he's having a red panty night with his wife. And then Conor, for some reason, forget that line that he gave. And he was like, what does that mean? And then he was like, oh, they're going to have, a red panty night. And he's like, oh, well, they're having one either way.
Whether Cowboy wins or Cowboy loses, they're going to have a red panty night because they won. They've got the money. They've got the bag.
Yep.
And I just think I saw in the face-off too, watch that clip on Embedded where you can actually hear what Cowboy's saying to Conor. Because again, this is why I'm saying Conor's not being nicer. Cowboy's just being incredibly supplicant and submissive to Conor in the build-up throughout this whole fight, which means McGregor's not pushing harder, because why would you? In Conor's mind, Conor, like, he'll even talk about this, in his worldview, words shape reality. That's why he doesn't say, oh, I'd like to do this. He'll say, oh, I will do this. He doesn't say, I'd like to get the Pacquiao fight. I'd like to get a belt in boxing, right?
He's like, I will do it.
He says, I will do it. So his words matter. So when Cowboy is saying things that in Conor's mind are not shaping the reality in a realm where Cowboy actually thinks he's gonna win, why would McGregor push him harder?
Well, also it was interesting what Conor said because one of the interviewers said hey, this is all being very, very respectful and all that, the build up and whatnot, and Conor said certain times call or something akin to certain talks allude to, I'm changing, right? This situation doesn't involve a lot of shit talking, right? It's twofold, because I do think if Cowboy thinks that he's your friend, he's more likely to underperform like he did in the Gaethje fight. But that flip-flops. But I think
that's the problem. This is the bad thing. Now Cowboy's had such a long career, the whole narrative of oh yeah, friendly Cowboy's the great guy, then he gets knocked out. Oh yeah, angry Cerrone's the great guy. He beat up Miles Jury, Alexander Hernandez. It's well, he's lost too.
But I think Conor was really talking about the fact that this is his redemption arc, right? If he came there and said Cowboy's gonna get knocked out in the first 3 seconds, he's gonna fuck him up, he's gonna fuck up his wife, his kid, all that stuff like that, then that would just further exemplify what a terrible human being that he's on. He's been talking about God, I don't drink anymore, I don't do cocaine, all that shit. This is the redemption arc, and if he was to be the classic Conor McGregor.
The bad guy, right?
He would be the bad guy even further.
He can't. I get that too, but that's why I feel like. But he's not being nice though. He's not. He's still jabbing, and I think if it was any other fighter, and they were like, "Wait, you can't read me. What are you talking about?" Then the talk would have escalated, as we saw in other press conferences, and even in some of the interviews. Connor's like, "Oh, well, I've always responded to what other people have said, and I responded in a bad way, and it went to the bad place." And he's like, "I like Donald and all this, right?" But what people are not saying is like, I've responded to what people have said in the past when I provoked them. Yeah. Even if Conor just says, "Yeah, I'm keeping it real," right? Saying you're keeping it real and being abrasive aren't. They're the same thing. They correlate, but they're not the same thing, right? So I think McGregor in the past has been intentionally abrasive and honest in his assessment of fighters' abilities. They've got, like, Dustin Poirier is the perfect example, right? He's basically like, "Yeah, I think I'm a better striker than Dustin." I'm simplifying, right? And Dustin goes like, "Screw you, bro. No, you're not." And then it just keeps escalating from there. He basically said, "Cowboy, I think I'm a better striker than you." And Cowboy just went, "Ha ha ha ha." Like, that's... I don't like it. I don't like it for Cowboy because I want him to have a good performance.
And I think a lot of people say, "Oh, okay, well, maybe Cowboy just doesn't give a shit," right? I think he's submitting to Conor. Yeah. And I think that's going to show in the fight. Now, Cowboy can get a head kick and, shut the fuck up
MMA.
to me.
It's MMA, right? But anything can always happen. But if you're putting odds on the fight, it definitely makes me take like 10% off of the chances I thought how Cowboy had to win and place it on McGregor. Just because, like, he doesn't seem mad at it. And it's not like I think people have to have like actual beef in real life. But when someone says that they're gonna beat you and you don't even go like, "No, you're not," that's what I don't like. I don't feel like it needed to be this big drama show or something, right? Yeah. It just when you have a fighter that doesn't even argue that they're gonna win and just seems so passive in that specific aspect, that's what bothers me. And Cerrone keeps talking about like, "Oh, it's going to be a really great show," and it's just not the language you want to hear from him. And maybe, like you said, maybe he'll surprise us. I hope for Cerrone's sake it does, because I hope he leaves the fight looking better. But maybe we're wrong. Yeah. Maybe we're wrong.
If you think Cowboy's going to win, if you think that this is all bullshit, give us a dislike. If you think Cowboy or Conor's going to win and this is a new, mature version of him and all that stuff, give us a like.
And if you enjoyed the press conference, feel free to dislike this.
Yeah, let us know, guys.
Feel free. Having said, Fight Companion, subscribe down below, daily videos, all that stuff. We'll be live streaming, so check out the fight this Saturday with us.
All right, later, Fight Compadres.